Another episode. What do, people? So, what we got to talk about today is how to create urgency in your life. What I've noticed in a lot of young people is just a lack of urgency, and people in general, just a lack of urgency. A lot of people really are just moving out here like they're never going to die. And you got to accept death. One of the first things you got to figure out, I remember this as a young lad, is when I understood the concept of death, is like it changes you. Like people think they want to live forever. But if you live forever, life will get very boring. Like if you knew you can never pass away, never die, you just live on forever, forever, forever. Your life will have no meaning. Because the only reason life has meaning because it ends one day. So because it ends one day, because you know there's a consequence at the end of life, it gives you a purpose, gives you something like a deadline. And that's what's so important. So I'm trying to break down how to create urgency in your life. And so the the first aspect of creating urgency in your life is you got to start creating deadlines. So the first deadline you need to understand in your life is you're going to die. Hate to tell you that, guys. You're going to die one day. It'll be over. Lights off. I don't know what happens after that. I hope you go to someplace nice or it's just a release or maybe you're just in infinite void. Who knows? But the beauty of it is since you do know this fact that it will end one day, it gives you a reason to build and prosper to something greater. And most animals don't get that aspect of fucking knowing they're going to die. So they're always living day to day, just surviving. So because humans have the knowledge and the wherewithal to understand that we will die one day, it allows us to ascend to a higher place. Because since we know that we will die, we know that people will live on after us. You typically want to live some type of legacy after you're gone. And that's kind of the purpose of life. So if you want to start to create urgency in your life, the first thing you need to do is start creating deadlines. And you know how you create deadlines? By adding consequences to your life. See, deadlines are only the result of consequences. If there was no consequences, like I said, if you live forever, there will be no consequences to all your choices because what's the point? You're just going to exist. So even if you do create something, what's the point? Everybody's going to be there. They're going to look at it and go on with life because there's no consequences. There's no ending to it. There's no period. It's just a run-on sentence. So when you understand there's consequences, you can then start to create deadlines because then you know if I do not accomplish this particular goal by this deadline, there is a consequence for me not doing that. And for me not doing that, I have to suffer that consequence, whether it be good or bad. And the only way that you can have consequences in life is through choices. See, choices are like the inputs to your equation and your output is your consequences. So when you have these consequences that occur in your life through the choices that you make, it gives you a finite feeling, understanding like, wow, what I'm doing has to be purposeful because there's something that occurs for me not doing it. And the more I don't do something, the more consequences I face it. So for example, you might have a car. If you do not pay your car note, there is a consequence, which is your car gets repossessed. And when your car gets repossessed, then you face another consequence, which is now I have a, what's the word when they take your car away? I now have a repossession upon my credit. So now the next time I try to go get a car, it's going to be infinitely more difficult because I can no longer get that car because I faced the consequences of my choices, which was not paying my car note. And since I didn't pay my car note, now I can't get a new car. And now I have urgency because now I need to make choices to be able to pay my car note so I don't have to face that consequence of not having a car note, which is why you have car payments in particular dates you have to pay the car by. Am I making sense so far? So your choices create your consequences. And your consequences create your deadlines. And your deadlines create urgency. And now you might be asking, well, how do I make better choices in life? Well, that's the best part. Your vision. What do you see in the future? See, man has this logical thinking brain. And once you get your mind right and you begin to use logic and you begin to think and understand, you didn't understand that you have to create a vision for your life. And everything that you do and everything that you act with has a purpose. And that purpose helps you make better choices in life. So, for example, if you want to be a multi-billion-dollar business owner and a politician, somebody who has mass influence upon the world that creates and helps people, you have to have a vision for that. And all your choices throughout the day need to be relevant to that vision. Because if not, you then are going to face the consequences of not doing that. You won't see your vision fulfilled. And when you don't see your vision fulfilled, the consequence of that is you miss your deadline. When you miss your deadline, you have urgency. So a lot of you guys have realized through life, and this is a good thing about being a young person, is you have a vision. And your vision should provide urgency because you understand your life is finite. You got 80 to 120 years if you're lucky on this life. And really, when you really fucking think about it, you really got about, how many years of building? Because you don't fucking kind of figure life out to about 25, 26, 27 if you're a man. So from 27 to about 60 is your period of time to build into somebody that's worth something, to create your vision. And so that's about 40 years, man. You got about 40 years of your life. If you times that by 300 days, just being fucking kind, 40 times 300, that's about 12,000 days. So you got about 12,000 days to be able to create a vision that you want to be able to put out there in the world. 12,000 days. Just think about that. So that's a finite number. So now when you realize, oh my God, I have 12,000 days to create what I see in my mind and project that into the future, that's going to create some urgency because each day matters. Each day you need to be producing something that helps build you towards your vision. If you're not doing that, then you're not growing. You're not getting better. You're not accomplishing and becoming somebody that's worth a damn in this goddamn life. And that's the problem with a lot of young men is they don't have a vision. And because they don't have a vision, they don't make very good choices. And because they don't make very good choices, they get very bad consequences. And because they keep having bad consequences that keep occurring to their life, they keep missing deadlines. And because they keep missing deadlines, they just don't have a sense of urgency. So if you want to have a sense of urgency, create a vision for your life, create a plan, and then execute on that plan. Do the best you can every single day to be able to get that plan into fruition so you can be able to grow and challenge yourself and to become the best version in producing a community and becoming a leader and a pillar of your community. Because that's what life is about, man. It's a man's duty and responsibility to care for the people around him and to provide services and to provide products that help make the lives of other people better. But if you don't have a vision, you can't even get that started from day one. So I always try to tell young people, man, the most important thing outside of pretty much just staying alive is your vision. Like, it's not money, it's not girls, it's not your friends, it's not anything like that. It's your vision. What is your vision for life? What are you planning? Are you thinking about today or are you thinking about 40 years from today? Because the way I think, I'm thinking 100 years from today. I'm trying to create something that lasts way past me. I want to create sustainable models that other people can then reproduce and use throughout America to be able to have great communities. And the way to have great communities, they have great families. And the way to have great families, they have great men. Because great men are supposed to lead their fucking families. And their families then create great communities. And then those communities go on to make the world better. And that's how the game works. But your vision is the first part. And that's why I try to tell people, man, the one person can change an entire country. One person can be powerful. You guys don't understand how powerful, especially with this interweb thing, where we can all connect and talk and communicate with each other. One man can have a lot of power. And not power as in you can just do whatever you want to do. I'm talking about power and influence and sparking the minds of young people, sparking the minds of people who are like-minded to be able to band together and create something that's bigger than ourselves. Because you have to understand, convergent properties. The whole is bigger than the parts, than the sum of the parts. So, like, for example, if you get a bicycle is just a bunch of rubber, metals, and spokes, a seat with some cotton on it, all this stuff. When you take a bicycle and break it down to the elementary parts, it's not really anything special. It's just a fucking hunk of metal and some rubber and shit. But when you put those things together with a vision and a practical idea of what you want to do and create with these things, you then can create something that has health benefits, that helps people get around the city, that can create races, create economy, that can create communities because now people can ride bikes together. And those bikes will then have need for roads, and you build something bigger. So your vision is much greater than the sum of the parts. So understand, build your vision, man. Build your vision. Start making better choices, because once your vision is correct and you know what you're living in your purpose in, that vision will turn to your better choices. Those better choices will give you better consequences. Those better consequences will have you hitting your deadlines, and those deadlines will create a sense of urgency so you can have your vision be able to come to fruition. But first, you got to think.